Well, welcome to the Church Office podcast.
My name's Gavin Smith, and if you're joining us on video, then here's a little wave.
We're excited to have Nigel Ring join us.
I've never actually heard the word wicked and accountant put in the same sentence.
What kind of gifting do you need on a church planting team is the question.
I think before talking about gifting, I'd like to talk about character. You're hard pushed to find any job description for anything in the Bible. What is an apostle? Well, what did Paul do? What did Peter do? What did Barnabas do, etc.? They all did different things, but there are some fundamentals in that. Well, they seem to lay a good foundation. They seem to build straight, etc. They seem to be teachers and so on. So you can kind of sort of construct a job description, but it's not an apostle does this. Similarly with elders, similarly with deacons. And actually what they tend to get back to in the Bible, what the Bible gets back to, is character.
Yeah, it's good.
So an elder, not to be drunk, a husband of one wife, etc. Deacons likewise, it says in 1 Timothy 3.
That's right.
It's all about character. And it's almost as if God is saying, if you've got the right character, I'll trust you to get on with doing it, whatever way you want to do it, as it were. So coming back to the specifics, what giftings do you want for a church plant? Well, obviously, there are certain giftings you do want. You want someone with the gift of teaching and preaching. Obviously, someone who could be a worship leader. Probably someone to look after children and so on. But I would say overriding all those things, it is a relationship and maturity of character and spiritual maturity is the starting point. You can almost put anyone together if you've got those. And it may be there isn't even a very strong teacher, and so you set about it in the early days in a slightly different way. By sharing, by interacting, by doing Bible study together. Let's dig down into it by listening to something on the internet. So if God has called someone to plant or a team to plant in a certain city, I think you then start saying, well, okay, if these are the people who planted, what are the giftings we've got? Now, in the case of the church I'm in at the moment, which is a plant in Bath, we have one person who's very good at leading worship but doesn't have a lot of time. And so we're praying quite a lot that we would have someone else to come alongside as a worship leader. Meanwhile, we're using a thing called icing worship, which is on the internet and is geared for exactly that situation where it projects slides, plays the music, has the choir, a choir, and people singing behind it, and you join in. It works perfectly well. So we don't have to have that worship leader, but we would like one. I would say administration. I think administration is an undervalued ministry, and I deliberately use that word because I think it is a ministry.
Absolutely right.
And I've written a little booklet which I think you recommended on the last podcast, The Gift of Administration. To me, administration is not about just making things happen, although it certainly should do, but it's about helping channel people through into their area of gifting, into their sweet spot, and seeing that everyone is serving in the right place. Meanwhile, you're putting in place the structure where that can happen. And I think administration can facilitate growth and can facilitate a church plant, which obviously is all about growth ultimately. If it's done well, done sensitively, done with a serving attitude rather than a dictatorial attitude. I don't like the sort of administration that comes to a leader and says, well, we can't do that because. To me, that's quite a challenge to do that, but I'll work out a way of achieving it. If you feel that's what we want to be doing, somehow we'll work it through. A much better attitude rather than I as an administrator say can't do it.
I think that's right.
It's an attitudinal thing. So again, it comes back to character.
It does, isn't it? And I think what I've seen in terms of church planting teams is that there can always seem to be this urgency where I think preparation in terms of who the team is and what kind of gifting you need to start with is so important. So, you're talking about, there has to be someone who's really good at preaching and teaching, isn't it? And that's primarily what we're about, and telling the good news of Jesus. So we want to, and that might be you, Steve, who's asked the question. And I think sometimes it's good to think about what are your strengths and weaknesses as a leader going into that church plant.
Yes.
I think that's a helpful self-reflection thing. Where do I need help, and where are the people that can draw alongside me in the gifting that I've got, and then the areas that I don't have. And that again takes time, doesn't it? And that again takes relationship to work through those, and honesty to say, I think I can serve here, but I need someone in administration, or I need someone in a worship leader, or I need someone with kids. And those are the kind of some of the key elements that we start talking about. But you need people who can help with the finances, who can help with organising rotas and all those things.
And they can be parcelled out to different people. And, we were talking about volunteers earlier. It's an excellent opportunity for people to start serving.
Yeah, it is.
So someone looks after the gift aid, someone else looks after the finances, someone else, etc.
Yeah.
So it doesn't all have to be done by one person.
Yeah.
I think just going back to the preaching thing, Gavin, don't be frightened to invite people in as visiting preachers.
Yeah.
Maybe get a series of some sort, preach through a book of the Bible. And then just invite someone to come in and will you preach on chapter 3 of that?
Yes.
We will have already covered this and that. Get someone in, because there are people out there maybe who are retired. Going back to what we were talking about there. But who have a real gift of preaching. Well, let's use them.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's a very intense thing, isn't it, a church plant? There are so many avenues that you need help and service with. And I think sometimes just working at a pace and working with a leader who's been on a church plant, who knows what it's like, to kind of be mentored, to be coached. If you're planting as part of a network, then I think there's sometimes a lot more support, isn't there? But we can think we've got to have all of these ministries all functioning and all working. I remember one church plant that we were aiming to have a mothers and toddlers group, a Sunday morning, a teens youth group running. They were hiring a school and doing 2 services and doing all the pack down and pack up and all that stuff that's related to kind of the kind of running of it. And you've gone, wow, that is such a big ask in the early stages of what is a church plant. So I think
it can cause people to burn
it
out.
It really does.
Yeah.
So you need to set a pace, don't you?
Yes,
I think,
very much so.
And I think, it's not just having a team of people who are on the ground with you to do what you're doing locally in the church plant, but also that wider team that can care for you in it and can help you, navigate what are the things that you need to kind of start doing. And every church plant is different, isn't it? Every city or every town or rural church plants. I mean, each one has different dynamics.
I think
about that.
That's a really good point as well. When you move into a town, do it well.
Yeah, please.
I know one situation where a couple felt called, I'm sure they were, to move into this particular city, and they just announced, we'll come to church plant.
Okay.
That's the best way of putting it. Everyone knows how to join.
It is.
When we moved to Bath, the couple who are leading the church plant were in. I said, look, before you say anything, let me introduce you to 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And one couple who are senior and well respected in the city, they just embraced this couple, say, you are so welcome. This is a big city with many people who aren't saved. The more labourers in the harvest field, the better. You're so welcome. Come and join in and I'll introduce you to people. So you're working together with other churches rather than I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I don't think in this town there's a good church, so we're going to plant it. Not good.
Not a good approach.
Not a good approach.
No, not a good approach at all. No, that's helpful. And again, there are so many good materials out there, and far more experience than certainly I have of church planting. And so, but if you're keen to church plant and you've got that sense of call, then connecting with a leader, look for some training. Union College. There are lots of different theological colleges that can help you. lots of different ministries that focus, into this kind of one specific area. So, but make church administration a part of this team somewhere, and then because it's a church administration podcast, that's it will help you. And I think if a pastor gets bogged down with trying to lead a team spiritually and preaching the word and preparing all of that, if they end up doing all the administration as well, they are going to struggle. And
it can be totally consuming as well.
It can be, yeah.
And if they're not particularly strong in administration, it takes them twice as long as someone who just thinks that way.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And it's also probably denying someone else the privilege of serving.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
They say, well, I'll do it. Particularly if they're trying to justify the use of their time. I mean, not many church planters are fully supported, but some are.
Yeah.
And so they may not have enough to fill their time. So the default position is I'll take the administration on board.
Yes.
But they may not be very good at it. And so it becomes consuming and heavy.
Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely
denying
right.
someone else
the
the opportunity
to
to serve.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's good. Nigel, thank you for this, mate. We're working through these questions, just drawing and learning from you.